Although arguably the most famous of his clan, Boba Fett is only one of a long line of powerful and important Mandalorian Fetts who have had a big impact on the Star Wars galaxy. In today's Star Wars lore video, we are going to look at all of the known Fetts in Star Wars Legends, excluding, of course, all of the clones besides for Boba himself. Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars Legends lore video. As I mentioned in the introduction, today we are talking about the Fett clan. We're going to go over from old to new, all of the Fetts in Star Wars Legends continuity. I do just want to mention that at the end of the video, I've got a couple of announcements to make about upcoming Let's Plays on my second channel, and they're going to be space related, Star Wars related, and Halo related, so if those things interest you, make sure to stick around. So as I mentioned, we're looking at Boba Fett's family tree, and I just want to reiterate that besides for Boba Fett himself, we're skipping clones, because that would be a tree with millions, if not billions, of branches. I do just want to mention that Boba Fett's backstory has changed several times. Originally, he was actually named Jaster Mereel, and after being in the Sarlacc pit, became infertile, so that would have led to a rather short family tree. Later sources would retcon Jaster to be someone who knew Boba Fett's grandfather, taking him out of the Fett clan. With that known, let's go way back in Star Wars history, all the way back to the time of the Old Republic and the Mandalorian Wars. Although surely there were many generations of Fetts before him, the first known descendant of Boba Fett is Cassus Fett. Cassus first appeared, albeit indirectly, in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. In that game, you could purchase either his armor or his pistol as equipment for your characters. Cassus was well known throughout the Star Wars galaxy even after the time of his death. He played a fairly important role in the Mandalorian Wars. Although he was only indirectly referenced in the Knights of the Old Republic game, the comics of the same name fleshed out his adventures during the Mandalorian Wars. Many generations of sons would then lead to the father of Jango Fett, Boba Fett's grandfather. We don't actually have a first name for him, and the comic that he appears in refers to him only as Fett. This brings us back to the planet of Concord Dawn and the journeyman protector Jaster Mereel. As I mentioned initially in Legends, Jaster Mereel was the alter ego for Boba Fett, and he previously worked as a journeyman protector, but was kicked out of the organization after killing one of his own. Later this would be turned into a different character, with Jaster Mereel being a distinct person. He was also at time a journeyman protector, but was kicked out after killing one of his own, but would then go on to become Mandalore. It should be noted that one of the symbols you can see on Boba Fett's armor is actually supposed to be the sigil of Jaster Mereel as a journeyman protector. Jaster would also develop principles around Mandalorian culture and would form the Mandalorian Super Commandos. Jaster as Mandalore did face some opposition, most notably the Death Watch, a rival Mandalorian group. Fett, who was also a journeyman protector on the planet Concord Dawn, was killed trying to protect Jaster from the Death Watch. Fett and his unknown wife would have two children, Jango and Arla. Arla, briefly, is obviously much less important for the Star Wars continuity than Jango Fett. She was taken by the Death Watch and for a while worked as an assassin. Jango, on the other hand, obviously had a much more storied career. Besides for being the base on which all clones were built off of, he was also one of the most famous bounty hunters in the entire galaxy. Jango's story has been told through various Star Wars Legends works, and I'm not really going to go over it in real depth here, but he did defeat Death Watch, the organization which killed his father, and would also participate in the Mandalorian Civil War. It could be said that Jango had millions, if not billions or more children, with each one of the clones who fought for the Republic being technically a direct descendant of his. However, only one of those clones was truly his son. That was Boba Fett. Boba Fett was one of the most important characters in the pre-Disney Star Wars universe, from directly participating and affecting the movies to being present during the Yuuzhan Vong War and long after. Aside from being one of the most famous bounty hunters and mercenaries in the galaxy like his father, Boba Fett would also become the leader of the Mandalorian people, also known as Mandalore, and would help train Jaina Solo, son of Leia and Han, in order to defeat her brother. Like many in his family, Fett would also work as a journeyman protector, especially after he met his future wife, Sintas Fel. Sintas and Boba would later separate after, like Jaster, Boba Fett would kill one of his fellow journeymen. And yes, I know, this Jaster thing is super confusing. Before their separation, the couple would give birth to a daughter, known as Ailyn Vel. taking of course her mother's name, but still being a direct descendant of the Fetts. Obviously, Ailyn would become a bounty hunter, and a fairly successful one up until the Galactic Civil War, at which point she was killed by Jacen Solo. Ailyn really wasn't a fan of Boba Fett, and likely the Fett line as a whole. Because her father left her mother ended up taking a bounty, during which she was killed. It should be noted that originally Boba Fett was supposed to be infertile after his time in the Sarlacc pit. Obviously, at some point, this was retconned in the Star Wars Legends continuity to make for a more interesting family. It should be noted though that Boba Fett had no other children that we know of, and he did survive his daughter. However, before her death, Ailyn did have a daughter with a Mandalorian named Ailyn Mirta Vel. The child was granddaughter of Boba Fett, Mirta Vel. Although like her mother, Vel for a long time hated her grandfather Boba Fett, they would eventually team up. In one of their adventures, they found out that Mirta's grandmother, Cintas Vel, actually had not died many years earlier, but had only been encased in carbonite, where she had remained for 40 years. Together, Boba and Mirta rescued Cintas and helped her return to normalcy. Mirta would later participate in the Second Galactic Civil War, later helping to try to find a remedy for the nanovirus attack on the Mandalorian home planet. Mirta would have a romantic relationship as well with Jaster Mereel, a fellow Mandalorian, although it's unknown whether they eventually parented children together. Such is the end of the Fett family history, at least the known line. Surprisingly, to my knowledge, no Fetts are included in the Legacy era. And although to be honest, by this point the family tree is getting fairly narrow, it's possible that it continued long into the future. Anyways guys, that was today's video. Before I sign off and leave you, I just want to make a quick announcement. Either tonight or tomorrow, I'm going to be uploading some gameplay onto my second channel, X2. I'm going to be playing Sins of the Solar Empire, which is a real-time space strategy game. Specifically, I'm going to be playing tonight either the Halo or the Star Wars mod, most likely the Star Wars mod tonight, with the Halo mod in the future. The mod is super fun and basically allows you to play large-scale space battles with hundreds of ships, and while still managing the logistics and the financial sides of running an empire. So if you want to see that, make sure to subscribe to my second channel. I'll put a link down in the description, as well as in an annotation and in the comments. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. As always, this has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.